And hello and welcome to the Race 2021 Speaker Series panel. And this panel is called Minding My Black-Owned Business. And today I have some great entrepreneurs on the show, on the panel. They've all done incredible things. They have some wonderful stories, and we're going to, talk to each one of them about their journey. But let me just kind of introduce who I have here today. I have Rejoice Jones, founder and CEO of Vower. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. And then I also have Navalayo, founder and CEO of Enda running shoes.
Morning, rather afternoon here.
Afternoon, yeah, where you are. She's coming to us live from Kenya, correct?
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And then also we have the husband and wife team of Darian McDaniels and Dr. Karleena Tuggle-McDaniel. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome. Good morning.
Great. So let's just get right into it. And I'm going to start with, because now we're recording this on a Sunday morning, so I'm going to start with Rejoice, just because I love that name. Rejoice Jones, founder and CEO of Vower. And also just kind of going through your bio, I saw it's such an interesting business model that you set up. So just go ahead and kind of tell us how the idea came to you and how you got the business started.
Yeah, so Vower, first of all, is a marketplace where we connect Gen Z and millennials, high schoolers and colleges with small businesses, startups. And we were created because there's a need. And we'll talk about sort of the other marketplaces and how the future of work would be done. But that's what we do. Vower was initially started to just increase civic engagement and community. So the original model pre-COVID was volunteer for concert tickets. I've done a lot of mobilization work in the city of Atlanta for a few years, where, me and friends would go out and we would feed the homeless. And the only way to get our friends there is if we would hire a DJ or have a rap cipher. So we would just plan events like ciphers or DJs, and then people would come and be like, oh, and we're feeding the homeless. So it would be just this block party of young people, hundreds of them. And we, just took that model to volunteer for concert tickets. And then COVID happened. And so, once COVID happened, the silver lining to it for us was that more small businesses were starting and needed affordable help, and college students lost their internships, and also creators, digital natives, the young people that have so much talent actually can and are prepared to work for these small businesses. They just need a better bridge. And so Vower was created to be that bridge. So, yeah. You're on me.
Sorry about that. So, you kind of gave over your story. So, what was the aha moment that you thought that this was needed? What was it that made you go, yes, this is something I need to put together?
Yeah, so if you go on other platforms, so for instance, if my niece, who was very skilled in social media, was to go on LinkedIn right now, she would need a 4-year degree, 3 years of experience to do, market research or create marketing content, but she has 70,000 followers on TikTok. So there's an over specification of work where a lot more young people who I consider digital natives, they grew up in the digital world. They don't really need all that upskill. They can start work and start to improve their resume and their skills now. And there's so many small businesses that need them, that can't afford to hire the $15 hour, $20 hour marketer. But there's someone at the high school around the corner for them that can help. And so if you think about the true nature of community sustainability and what it takes for upward mobility, it's those connections that if you don't make them, the community has less chances to be sustainable. And so it's taking the cool part. So I can go into a high school and say hey, there, 20 pairs of Jordans, and I can get 200 volunteer hours out of that versus, the reason why I say that is because with Vower, the workers, the high school, college students, they can earn rewards, anything from Jordans to concert tickets, still to rewards. And then not only incentivizes them to learn more skill and do more work, but it kind of pushes them along of what I feel or what we feel at Vower is a gap. Technology is moving so fast, but we don't have the infrastructures for young people to catch up. And so we need to like push, like you already have the skill, here's the platform, now you're ready to go work for local businesses and nonprofits in your area. So yeah, it's a cool model. It's doing really well. And so that's sort of the background and the future of what we're doing with Vower, and so happy to partner with the race. And so when you guys see these lit volunteer groups with drum lines and bands, that's Vower's group. Well, high schools that are getting community service and earning cool things for being there and helping this great marathon. So yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. We do actually we definitely appreciate that. And when I looked at your model, I was really intrigued. I was like, that is really, really cool. All right, so let's go on to our next couple, the husband and wife team, the McDaniels. How y'all doing?
Doing great.
Pretty good.
So let's get your story, because you have ProBlk health vitamins, and tell us how, number one, where the idea came from, and number two, how it got started.
You want to start?
You can start, baby.
All right, ladies first. So I did my med school and residency at Howard. I finished my surgical residency. I came here to Atlanta. So I've always worked in minority communities. And I see a lot of us that are young in age, but old in disease. And it would frustrate the heck out of me, because a lot of the issues and illnesses that we commonly have and that we've almost owned it as being normal are preventable or more controllable with more education on preventative health and preventative medicine. So Darian would get frustrated because it just upset me to the point where I'll come home and vent about it.
Every day,
the nag. And we were brainstorming, and he thought about, should we do vitamins, because 92% of African Americans are vitamin deficient in at least one nutrient. And the one that I most commonly see is vitamin D, because I check that all the time on my patients. I'm a weight loss surgeon, so I have to check vitamins all the time. And that is the one that is the most significant, generally speaking. So Darian thought, well, since that is such a high percentage, what can we do to at least address that issue? So we came up with the vitamins, but we didn't know exactly what to do with it from that point initially.
And so really, when she came home one day, I was working, and I was like, do I have to hear about Black people being unhealthy again today? She was like,
does Dolly Parton sleep on her back? Yes.
She was like, yes. And so I said, you know what? You so pro-Black health. And that's kind of how the name got started, and it stuck. And I was like, that's got a ring to it. And so we kind of thought about, let's go in the community and work with, and really try to do something and start a nonprofit. And we found out it was already a lot of nonprofits that focus on health and wellness in the community. And I had a full-time situation. She was a surgeon full-time. And with a nonprofit, as most of you may know, it takes a lot of work. And so we were like, what can we do to get these nonprofits some funding? Because there were nonprofits, but they just didn't have the funding. And so we thought about the vitamin company, which we thought about, but we were watching the Shark Tank show, and they had a company that sold beach towels, and each one that they sold, a percentage would go to clean up the ocean for marine life. And I turned to her, I was like, if they could do it for fish, we could do it for Black people, right? And so that's why we're like, let's start a vitamin brand. But what's going to be cool about it is 50% of net profits will go back to nonprofits that focus on eradicating health disparities in the Black community. And so we were like, that was going to be the thing to get people excited about health, but excited about giving back, and also making an exciting brand that connects with young people, old people in our community with cool names like, King Essentials, which is our multivitamin for women, Queen Essentials, Not Your Mama's Greens. I want to go night for like a melatonin. So to try to use these names and cool feelings and try to intertwined with social media and everything to kind of start a movement. So our tagline is, we're not just a vitamin company, but we're a movement. But that's how things got started.
Yeah.
Wow, that it does sound like an incredible story. Who came up? Because I was watching your video. Who came up with too dope to be sick? Who came up with that? I like that.
But we are. Where is the lie? Where is the lie? Like we're amazing race. We're amazing individuals. We are amazing community. And without health, all of that is squandered. And I wish that we as a people would prioritize health over all the glitz and glam and fakeness we see on social media. Because at the end of the day, who cares how many fake gold chains you have and fake booties you got if you have diabetes or on dialysis, or you have no energy, you can't breathe. And I think a big part of what our mission is, the vitamins is the vehicle to connect, but we're really about connecting with the community and make health awareness a priority, about making people interested in it, making people understand that this is important to think about and act on before you get sick. A lot of people, when they feel good, it's like not even top of mind. But when it's falling off and it's bleeding and it's hanging out, then you want to run to me and say something. It's too late. It's a little bit too late at that point. So how do we get younger people while they're still feeling good to understand the importance of maintenance and prevention? And I think that's what our mission really is focused on.
Great journey, great idea. I love it. Once again, I read everybody's bio and I saw your business model. And I thought, oh, that's great, because you're right. We don't think about medicine until, like you said, it's bleeding and falling off. Then it's like, you know what? I might want to get this checked out. Yeah. So I completely understand.
You got to get it cut off.
Exactly. Like, maybe I should see a doctor about this. So thank you very much. So let's go to our next panelist, gallery. Nava, hello this morning afternoon in Kenya.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to talk because you definitely, not to put down anybody else on the panel, but what you're trying to do as far as take on some of these large running companies is amazing to me. And the fact that you got it going and you stuck to your guns and kept it in your country of Kenya is amazing. So please tell us about first the idea of when it came to mind that you want to do it, and then how you actually got it up and running.
So my business is called Enda, like ENDA, and Enda is literally a Swahili word that means go. And so when people are kind of like supporting their athletes or cheering them, everybody will be on their feet shouting Enda, 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 and so that's the inspiration for the name of the company. I got the inspiration to start it when I was surprisingly in New Jersey. I remember there's a time I was kind of like working and studying abroad, and then I was really, really homesick. And then I saw this huge mural of people kind of like advertising and running shoes and stuff. And it was an exact replica of the Rift Valley, which is where a lot of the Kenyans come from, which also coincidentally is where I come from. And I think one of the things that hit me was at that particular point, I was like, wait, these runners are kind of like at this moment kind of like advertising another shoe company. And I know the situation back home because a lot of the runners don't do so well financially. And so the question was, why do we produce the world's best runner? Why do we get involved in marketing campaigns, but we are not in the ownership level of this industry at all? It's a $4 billion industry, and we kind of take the prize money or we take some marketing. So basically, the inspiration for that was, how about we actually create something that is challenging the industry, that's actually saying we're here, we are going to be at the table, and we are going to get part of that revenue and use it to help other people and also for ourselves. So that was the motivation to start the company.
I completely understand it, because I used to say all the time, I say it even on my podcast, I say it all the time that I just don't like the fact that the greatest runners are coming from Kenya, like you said, Rift Valley, and there is no major marathon. in Kenya so that their hometown people can see your great runners, run in person. So I love the fact that, the idea was to keep it local. So how did you, like I said, you're dealing with these huge running companies, Nike and Puma and, all these other ones, Brooks. How did you get it started in Kenya? And of course, I'm not that up on the Kenyan economy, but how did you get it going in Kenya?
So surprisingly, we have a very strong US connection. We actually started the company through a crowdfunding campaign. We started it on Kickstarter. And that's also because we didn't have the money to get it started. And then we were like, okay, let's figure out how to do this. We went on Kickstarter, which coincidentally has a very US and European in terms of people who kind of like patronize that website. And so when we began, we ended up getting a lot of customers. Initial people who supported the project were from the US, huge chunk of that basically being mixed with African American and other demographics. And that's how we started. That's how we got the money. We got the money and started trying to figure out which basic parts of the process we could move to Kenya from Asia. And then from there, we've kind of just been doing the same thing. We tried to move a bit of the process to Kenya, but in reality, we sell about 90% of our products are sold in the US.
Well, let me ask you this, because like most of the time when I talk to someone from Kenya or Ethiopia, the places where a lot of the great marathoners come from, they don't run like we do in the US. Like in the US, I run for recreation, just to get out in the sun, that sort of thing. They seem to, most of the runners run because they want to be an elite athlete. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes.
So
yes, because being an elite athlete is actually it's a profession. It's like how they make their money, and a lot of them come from places where like there's a lot of poverty, and it's the only way they know how to make it. So most of the people who run do it, they need to make money, and the other people who don't run basically have to kind of like get the hustle going and do other stuff. So running here is very specified. It's growing to get out of that. We're getting a bit of recreational runners, but mostly it's more of people who run professionally and people who just do other stuff. But now it's getting better and better.
And yeah, I asked that because I was just checking, because like you said, 90% of the ones that are sold in America. So I was just checking, what is your market like there actually in Kenya for people buying your shoes?
So the market when we started was a little bit small, because the cost of running shoes is actually expensive, like to make them, to ship them, to kind of like get them to the market. And so when you're looking at a price of $100 in a country where like a significant number of people live below $2 or $1, that's a big ask, And so initially we thought that there wouldn't be a big market, but the market has surprised us. As I said, recreational running is on the rise. And so we have a lot more people running and kind of like supporting us and buying our products. However, I do think the benefit we're trying to achieve is mostly to say, how do we tap into that $4 billion industry, and how so that even if you're not a runner, as long as you're part of the community, you can work, you can be part of the volunteers, you can the stuff that we're doing in the community, we kind of like channel through that. So yes, we want to make sure that everybody has access to the shoe, and we're kind of like doing different programs to get that possible. But at the same time, through the shoes, we're able to help a lot more people in terms of just getting stable income and, do other things.
That's great. That definitely is a great story. Last question for you, though. I want to buy some of your shoes. I usually run in stability shoes. Which one out of the ones, because I went through the website. So can you confirm which shoe would maybe be better for me if I run like in a stability shoe?
So our shoes they're mostly, I wouldn't say like they're not stability. We don't have like any stability based products for now. So right now we just have a lightweight trainer, and we have a day trainer that's kind of like a 6mm heel to toe drop. So if it's for stability, we're not yet there. We are getting there. Our next shoe we're launching is a trail shoe in a couple of weeks, but it's also the process of growing from one shoe to two shoes, and now we're having to three shoes, and hopefully as we grow again, we're going to get to more runners with that in a broader spectrum. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I mean, like I said, I really like what you guys are doing. And even if you don't have a stability issue, I will be getting some Endas here shortly. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, so let's just get into, let's get personal. So I'm gonna start with the husband and wife team. Because there's a lot of people that I'm sure are out there thinking about becoming entrepreneurs and doing it with their significant other. Tell us a little bit about that process of doing it with your significant other. Because most of us, we get up in the morning, we kiss our wife, our husband, our significant other, and we leave the house and we go to work and we don't have to see you for another 8 hours. This you guys are doing together. And I mean, you know, I know you're still a surgeon, but when there's decisions to be made for this company, if there's a disagreement, how do you guys handle that?
I would say we don't really have that many disagreements because we come from different backgrounds. So we're a vitamin company, which is in the health and wellness space. And as a physician, that's kind of where my lane is. And I'm also a creative, but that's kind of where, you know, my input is best valued. Darian has 30 years of marketing experience and he understands sales, he understands how to connect, he understands social media. So very rarely do we get to an impasse where either of us feel that, you know, we know more about it than the other. Usually it's brainstorming about this is what our goal is. How do we get there? And I'll put in my spin and he'll put in his spin. But we're fortunate enough to be able to like take different parts of what we're trying to do and then contribute that. So we don't have that many kind of
I think the hardest thing is just like when you got to make like big strategic moves.
Yeah.
She's more of I'm conservative as well, but she's even more conservative with risk than she's more risk averse, which was a big issue when starting the company because we had to put a lot of money into it. You know, when you go to a bank and say, you know, we want to give 50% of profits away, usually the conversation is over pretty quickly. So, you know, but that's something that we stuck to our guns with. I mean, they came to us and say, well, why don't you change it to this? And why don't you change it to that? And I just like, you know, I just really feel like for it to grow and to make a difference, that needs to just be a standard part of our mission. So, you know, we had to put a lot of our money up and now, you know, we got a lot of retailers calling us and I think those are hard decisions because of course the retailers want a ton of money. Of course, they're in the business of retailing, they're in the business of their company, but trying to make those strategic moves and being unsure about them and, you know, working together to kind of take that leap of faith. So sometimes that takes a couple of days to kind of work out, I would say, but then we usually come to a consensus or, you know, I should say, well, if you think it's gonna work, be like, all right.
Yeah, but I will say just in general, just in a marriage, right? Marriage in general, everything for the most part is kind of like a joint decision, you know, or where we're gonna live or even what we're gonna eat for dinner tonight. And I think a business takes on a different set of decisions, but I think communication is key at the bare level of any relationship. And I think if you're thinking about starting a business with your partner where money is involved, I think before you get too deep in it, you need to sit down and kind of decide what are your goals, what are things that you may be good at and someone else, you know, has other strengths, but being able to strategically figure out how is each one going to contribute separately and then how can they work together? Because if you wait until there is a problem, then it's like, there's just ideas or there's arguing, but there's no basis on how to solve them. And I think you really have to have a lot of, you know, it's not I'm always right or you're always right, but really being able to communicate. And sometimes you're not going to solve it right away. Sometimes you got to walk away, maybe write your own list of pros and cons or why you feel that this is a better decision or not, and come back to it. But it does take a lot of patience because if a decision that is made doesn't work out, do you blame the person who made the decision? You could, but I still got to look up in the morning, look at him and be like, you know, but you can't fire your husband, but it's not as easy as firing an employee. So communication, I think, is so key in order to like make the decisions and still have a harmonious household.
I agree.
So it sounds like, and I mean, that was a great explanation on the way you two work together. But basically, hey, he has his strengths, I have my strengths. We kind of let that person handle what you do in a business anyway. I mean, regardless if you were husband and wife, that's what you do. You let the person that has the expertise in a certain thing handle that side of it. I did want to, because you said something about retailers, and I just kind of want to get peek behind the curtain. Kind of talk to us about, like, when retailers come to you, what are they saying? Like, are they, because you said they want money, do you have to pay for like product placement kind of thing, or how does that actually work?
You know, with retailers, they typically buy from you for what they consider a wholesale price. Usually it's somewhere between 40 and 60% that they want to discount basically to put it on their shelves. So I always think about, when you think about retail, just think about, you know, it's basically real estate, you know, what you're just trying to get that place on the shelf, but they take a particular cut up front, and sometimes you have to put another percentage in for marketing as well, which can eat a lot into your margins. But, you know, it's such a tricky move because, you know, a lot of them have a lot of visibility too. So, I mean, I think it's one of those things for a growth strategy for a small business is, I think you have to have a good online, a good base that's going to have you enough income. And then you have to look at sometimes these retailers and say, okay, can I just stretch the brand a little further, you know, and I may not make as much money, but I'm getting more customers. And if you can get customers and you got a good product, and then they can come back, they may come back to there, they may come back to your website, but we just want to get you in, because our vitamins are good. We want to get them in your hands and get you to feeling well. Then you'll say, okay, I'm part of the journey. So it's about getting more eyeballs, but it can be expensive, and, you know, choosing the right retailer that fits with your brand. Everybody's not going to fit with what you're trying to do and your price points, but it's hard as a numbers guy to know that, okay, if I have it on my site, you know, it's this percentage you get to work with versus, you know, giving half of my percentages basically to, you know, a retailer. So it could be tricky, but there's some pros and cons.
And I will add one thing quickly, not being the marketing person, but having conversations with Darian when we do get these proposals and different companies showing interest. When you're starting out, it can seem almost not like a vanity play, but you're so enamored that someone else sees interest in you that sometimes you feel pressure to go along with, oh, the brand, oh, I'm on a shelf, oh, visibility. And until you really crunch your numbers and you do the fine print, you know, it may hurt you in a lot of ways. So you really want to take your time with a lot of these ventures and not get kind of swept up into the romance of it, because you think, oh, that sounds like such a big deal. But when you really go to the weeds, you're like, but I'm the one in the hole at the end of the day. Or what if the product doesn't sell? What does that mean a year from now?
You gotta buy it. You actually got to buy it back.
Yeah.
You know,
so there's so many things where their initial interest may not be the right time in your business to pull the trigger on it, because you have to be in a place to leverage, because there's definitely going to be some invisible cost associated with it.
You know, they say a lot of brands die in retail.
Yeah.
You know, that's a true statement. You know, that's, just because you're in retail, you're not gonna, it don't mean you made it or you're gonna make money. It's because you're responsible for moving that inventory on them shelves. It's not their responsibility, it's your responsibility.
Read the fine print, definitely. Most definitely. Okay. And let me get back here. Hey, so Nava, did you have a question? I saw the hand come up.
Oh, no, sorry. I pressed on the wrong emoji. I was trying to get a hand clap because I was like, yes, you know, I agree.
Exactly. All right. So let's go to Rejoice over there. She's been over there sipping her coffee. I want to talk to you about, number one, you're from Michigan, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
So how did you end up in Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone has ever been to Michigan or Midwest people, but my parents, dad, community organizer, mom, social worker, and worked in hospitals as well. My mom, you know, they split, and so my mom moved to Atlanta, started her career at Grady, and then sent for us. And I say, like, the only reason why I actually stayed, because I was just like afraid of heights. So I didn't want to fly back, because I definitely, Michigan and then coming to Atlanta, I lived in College Park. It was just starkly different world, but here I am still in Atlanta. So.
Now, I did read your bio. It says that you're a two-time entrepreneur. So what was the other business that you had begun?
Yeah, so the nonprofit that I started, it was in 2012. A few friends and I just went out with a few paper bag lunches, and what started as a few volunteers ended up being hundreds of high school, colleges, because we would say, hey, we having a rap cipher or a DJ, and they would come and then like, oh yeah, we're also doing this good work, so you might as well stay. So that was the first accidental. It was very accidental. It just worked, and a lot of people were helped, and it felt really good. And then so Vower is my second baby, and so we'll use technology to give it legs. The same thing we were doing, we'll just add some tech to it.
Now, let me ask you this, because I didn't say this, but I do a podcast. It's a podcast I do with a young lady named Enda Cook, and it's about running. It's the Run Duo podcast. And basically, when all this social justice, started coming from, police officers beating on, Black men in the middle of the street, and, the world really started taking notice, and there was all the protests, all of a sudden our audience doubled just like that, because we're two African-American people, talking about running and other things. Did you notice any jump in your business when all this started to happen?
Yeah, so COVID, like I said, there's a lot of silver linings to what happened during the tragedy and the murder of George Floyd and COVID. I think one, you saw a 63% increase in small businesses. A lot of those small businesses being minority Black businesses, because of the, I guess, the freedom and opportunities that COVID presented, and also just the lack of fear of just saying, this is the moment. We feel collective in-group consciousness. I want to jump out there and do, my thing. And so a lot of the small businesses in general are sole proprietors, where it's just one or two people holding it down. So you have all of this energy with young people that are more activated online in the streets and using their energies to increase social justice. So a lot of them would say, any nonprofits looking for us to do this, or and so you take all of this energy and you say, how can we connect? What, to me, the end goal would be increased small businesses that are Black and brown staying in business past the 2-year mark, having the resources that they need without breaking the bank. And then you have younger people who have this energy, are using all their digital skills to increase their resume, prepare themselves for professional work. So there was an uptick. And I think the momentum we felt from both of those scenarios really propelled us, not only as a marketplace to connect these two audiences, but just in general, small businesses and startups who are now saying this is my moment. The fear of dying from COVID, the fear from all the other things, but also the hope and tenacity that this in-group consciousness is affording us. So yes.
Yes, great answer. And I did want to ask you, and I'm probably going to ask everyone this. So if somebody, a young person, because it sounds like you deal with a lot of, college students, people that still have that energy to go out and really make changes. If they came and say, hey, I want to start a business, what kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would just tell them to whatever they want to start, just go test it small. If you want to sell, kale wraps to increase food awareness in your community, make a few kale wraps, pull up to a vendor and just see. So I think a lot of the failure is in the fear, but also some ideas aren't that great. I think they can start off as volunteer for concert tickets and end up to be like a workforce place, but so many pivots have to happen, but you have to test it. You have to see in this small little, thing that I can do, will it work? And then you compound upon that. So I would just say, just start, get out of your head, start quickly, but start small to see you know, is there a need for this? Like, would people actually want what I'm putting out there? And if not, what am I learning that maybe I can, you know, change and pivot up and doctor it up a little bit to make it closer to what people need? No pun intended. Yes.
Last question for you, not overall, but just in this little space here. So was there any point during this process of getting everything up and running? Because I looked, you got a good little team there of people on your website that helped you get to, you know, get it to where it is. Was there any point you're like, you know what, I don't know why I'm still doing this. You know what, I could sleep in an extra 15 minutes this morning if I ain't got to do this. Was there any point that you just had to really buckle up and say, no, this is what I want to do and we're going to get this done?
Oh my gosh. As a startup, and I think people who just have small businesses, you hear so many no's. Like my first few no's, I would like be really sad and like, you know, let it bring me down. But after so many, you start to say, okay, this is just a part of it. But more specifically, because I believe the future of work will be not people staying at jobs for 5-10 years. You'll have to manage contractors, freelancers. So our market really is a marketplace to manage the future of work and how it will be. Can you build a team with 5 different people that may come in and out? Your system needs to be strong, but can you do that? So Vower's team now, we have like 8 or 9 people. A few of them are contractors, some of them are core team, but I've had like 3 or 4 teams, because when you don't have money and you're hiring interns and you're hiring contractors, people come in and out the door, and that can kill you if you don't have a system and if you don't have money. So Vower's approach and what we're like testing on ourselves, what we help small businesses and customers do is say, yeah, there will be days where, you know, no one shows up, or you may have, you know, interns or contractors or people leave, but this is a part of it. So that sustainability piece, and I hope I'm answering your question, but for me, what can you remind me, am I hitting the part of the question? Because I can go.
No, you were hitting it perfect. I was just asking, like, was there any point that you felt like giving up and you had to kind of push yourself?
Yeah, so when I've had, maybe this is like our 3rd team, and it's because I built the company up through college interns, and so they leave after the semesters, or they may find another job, or, you know, software developers, they may get a job from Silicon Valley. We can't, so a constant in and out. A lot of times I'm like, oh, this is not it, but I'm realizing I'm the test for the small businesses that because this is going to continue to happen, especially if you don't have money to just hire people. You have to be flexible and adjustable with your workforce. So, yep.
Yes, thank you very much, Rejoice. That was a great answer. Now, I'm going to go back to Nava. We're going to go back to you. And I just kind of wanted to talk to you about, you know, because you are in Kenya, your home country. How do they look at what's going on in the U.S. as far as with all the social justice and what's happening? Because, I mean, you're in a country, because I know growing up, I used to be like, well, I want to be like to be in a country where we're all Black, or, you know, we're all the same culture and things like that. But as I've gotten older, I've noticed even in countries where we're all the same, they still can find a way to disagree. So that's not always the answer. But I did want to ask, how do they view what's going on in America right now?
I think you've kind of just summarized it. I think there's one element, of course, the matter of George Floyd like shocked the world. I think I remember I watched it and I had a headache like that couldn't go away. You know, it was more of how is like that was beyond. It wasn't even inhuman. It was, I don't know how to capture it. And I think here in Kenya and the rest of the world, it was more of like, yeah, there's some serious stuff going down that needs to be fixed. You know, like it's not about platitudes or talking nice, or, you know, like there's really a system of figuring out how to get there. And so we have like an issue with the police over here and with like young people, but it's not to that extent. I think from our perspective, it's always, I think there's both. Where in one end we are like, yes, we are in solidarity, and on the other end we are also like, we cannot throw stones from glass houses. We also have to look within us and say, why are there incidences among young people and the police as well, you know? And so I just think it's more of I guess it's the causation, whereas in the US it's more like there's it's really about racism and the history and the culture and all that stuff that led to policing and where it is right now. Whereas for us it's a different issue. So it's more of just understanding the two and saying we can support both. We can basically say let's support change, you know, the sweeping global change in terms of just what's going on around the world. Because whether it's in the US or sometimes if I go to Europe, sometimes if you're black regardless of where you are, as well is also just saying, let us use this opportunity to not just tell the US to reform, but also to look at ourselves and say, what are the things we can do to just make it easier for young people to not feel like they're enemies of the police? Yeah.
Understandable. Now I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Rejoice, because I know you put out your first shoes back in 2017. Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
So when this whole, you know, the George Floyd and the social justice thing hit, did you see an uptick in the sales of your shoes?
Yeah, we did actually. It's guilt, you know, because we saw a huge uptick, like our business grew significantly, but at the same time I am troubled by the reasons why it grew, you know, like of course it's great, it grew and people were running shoes and COVID and all that kind of stuff, and everybody was looking for Black owned businesses and there aren't that many in our industry. But at the same time, I wish that the growth was not because someone else had to suffer, you know, like I just wish it was normal market things. And so it's kind of that one thing where you're saying, yes, the business is doing fantastic, but also I just wish we could do much more. And that's why that's part of the reason we also changed our mission. Before we were thinking of making running everyone's culture, and now our company is devoted to justice, equality, and fairness. Like, and right now we're doing that by making running shoes, and we're putting it open to say in future we might venture into something else that is about social justice. But I took the opportunity to say, hey guys, if we are benefiting from this, we also have to give back. We have to find causes and we have to support those causes.
Yes, great answer. I definitely agree with you. But you know, and I'm with you on that. Like when there's an uptick because of that, like you said, you don't want it to be because somebody had to die for people to see. But you know, I'm glad that people got to now they see, oh, there is a running company out there that is owned and operated by, you know, Black people. So let me try them, and they love them, and they, you know, it sustains your business. So hopefully that's where we're going with it. Well, I do definitely appreciate you speaking with us today. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say to the rest of the panel or the people that are watching?
No, just to say I'd like to say we are super excited to be supporting the race. I remember the first time I read about the race, I saw the colors, even before I kind of like knew what it was, because those are Pan-African colors. They are also the flag of Kenya's colors. Like I know the colorways back and forth, and we did shoes actually in those colorways when we started. Those are our launch colors, and so I think it really first makes me so happy that there is that they're carrying that Pan-Africanism, because it's ultimately we all came from Africa. There's kind of like different elements of it, but I do think there has to be a pride that comes with it. And so I want it to be that, you know, like some people sometimes will say, go back to Africa, like an insult. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. Like, it's actually, you know, like, I want that pride to be with other people because it's more. And so I feel like the race isn't just about running. It's also about culture and bringing people together. And secondly, as we've kind of like heard from the McDaniels, like health is a big thing. And if you look at the demographics, especially for Black people, we don't do well on the health spectrum for a variety of reasons. And so I like the race because it's actually getting people active. It's getting people running, jogging, you know, whatever it is, just get active. And I think that's something that I, you know, really like. And I'm glad that we are kind of like partnering with them for this year.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to go to the couple, the McDaniels. And I'm going to kind of ask you the same thing. Is there anything else that you want to say to our panel or to the people that are going to be watching this?
Again, we are also thankful for this opportunity to be a part of this. Tess, who I believe is one of the original organizers of this, I met when I first moved to Atlanta, she was my first personal trainer down here. And then she left that gym, and I would see her running with all these like Black women throughout different parts of like Midtown. And I've never been one who's like, exercise has been like a part of my regular routine until I came down here and got a trainer. But in general, exercise is not something that we commonly see in the Black community. I think Atlanta is, I see it more and more because I think health is becoming more of a priority. I also think just parts of Atlanta economically, you have the bandwidth to be able to do that. But why we were so happy to be involved even a couple of years ago, because it fits with our narrative and what we're trying to do. Health is not a one size fits all thing, right? So it's not about, oh, if you don't run, you're not going to be healthy. If you don't take our particular vitamins, you're not going to be healthy. But it's about doing individual things that kind of contribute to your overall health and saying, hey, health is important, but what is something you can do almost every day for the rest of your life? Because what Darian does may not be what I can do, may not be what you can do, but seeing people who look like us, who are running, I thought was like, almost like seeing a Pikachu out in the wilderness. I'm like, who are all these Black people, and who are they running from? You know, typically when you see Blacks running together, they're running from something. And the fact that they were just running, and think it was a Black girl's run, I had never even heard of it. It like blew my mind. I'm not a runner, but I was giving them big ups every time I saw them running, because it made, well, what can I do? Because I thought that was amazing. And even Darian, he found a quote yesterday, and it was like, heart disease doesn't run in your family, it runs in your diet, you know? And that's an oversimplified thing, but it's like, we have to figure out, how do we, you know, incorporate everyday things, or things that we like, or things that we don't even know that we would like until we try it, to change our typical narrative of that we're sedentary, we don't do this, we don't do that. So I think the race is like a pivotal platform to kind of make people think, well, Black people can run, and they do run. Let me try it, let me be involved. So I think it's an amazing, amazing, amazing opportunity.
Thank you. I do too. I mean, Tess definitely has taken the Black Girls Run and run with it and taking it to the next level. So I do appreciate you talking about it. Now, Rejoice, I see you got your hand up, so I didn't forget about you. And I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked everybody else. Hey, is there anything else you would like to say to the panel, as well as the people that will be watching this?
First, to the panel, oh my gosh, I just feel very grateful to have listened to your stories. I was already thinking in my head, like, how can Vower support them? What resources do I have to help? I will say that for the McDaniels, you know, I do believe that this next generation, they have more autonomy over their resources. They're very interested in how to be their own doctors, or at least to be the intermediary before they have to. I do believe like this next generation is ripe for what you guys are doing. We see it with the other vitamin companies, and they make it cool, and they use social media. So I would love to, you know, if there's anything or any
Done deal.
Secondly, I would say because Tess, this is when it was just a pitch. I met Tess pitching. I was just out pitching everywhere I can stand up and talk about how we think civic engagement should be done. And Tess sat with me and gave me advice, and, you know, was like, oh, she gave me like basically one of my first shots. She was like, we'll give you 1 mile, go find a young group to do this mile. And we brought John Lewis's Invictus Academy, the middle school on the West Side. We brought over their drumline, and it was one of the best miles. And from that connection, they received, the school, the drumline received a donation, and the youth were like, when can we do this again? So it's like building civic engagement by making it cool. So at the race this year, you'll see over 8 to 10 young group, high school, college groups. Now, you know, I get to meet ProBlk Health, I get to understand what Enda does. And it's like bringing what we already have together is like the key. And so I just wanted to say, like, this will be beautiful, and I'm just so happy to support.
All right, so thank you very much, Rejoice. But before we go, because I'm gonna go across everybody and do this, but since I'm on you right now, go ahead, give your online, whatever you want to give as far as how they can get in touch with you or your business. Go ahead and give that now.
Awesome. So if you'd love to sign up and register, you can go to vower.org and Vower up with us. Our social media handles is The Vower Inc. That's TheVoweRinc on all platforms. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rejoice. We definitely appreciate that. Now, the McDaniels, I'm sorry. Go ahead and give your information for us.
Okay, you can go to our website, and ProBlk is spelled PROBLK, health.com. And our social media handles is ProBlk, PROBLK_health. And come check us out. We'd love to have you join the ProBlk Health family.
Thank you, guys. And of course, not last and not least at all, in the running, can you give us your information?
Yeah, so we are endasportswear.com across all platforms. So it's just Enda, but with the word sportswear together on all platforms. You can find us there. And our website is endasportswear.com.
Well, I want to thank every single one of you for, getting up today, as well as, Kenya for tuning in. What time is it there right now?
It's 6:56 in the evening.
Oh, so you've had a day.
Yes.
you already had your day. Exactly.
We're done. Yeah, we've left it to you guys.
Well, do you know the lottery numbers for today? Since it's the future out there, what's the lottery numbers? But no,
I
seriously.
wish that was the case.
Exactly. But seriously, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your days to speak with us on this panel. And, I want to get, like Rejoice said, I want to get involved with every single one of your businesses, and I will definitely find a way. Okay.
All right. Thank you for having us. Been such a
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Great to meet everyone as well.
Yeah, same here.